You're listening to Inside IASB, a podcast series dedicated to informing and encouraging Illinois School Board members. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Isaac Warren. I'm the Director of Digital Communications at the Illinois Association of School Boards. And with me today, I have Angie Powell, who is the Associate Executive Director of Policy Services in our Policy Services Department. So thanks for coming on the podcast, Angie.
Thanks for having me.
Just to get started, could you tell me a little bit about who you are, some of your background, and how you came to work at the association?
Well, I started at IASB in 2008. I actually started in a different department, but I moved into the Policy Services Department in 2012 and started working with the Press Plus service and have been working with the Press Plus service ever since. Back then, we had maybe around 300 subscribers. Now the service is up to almost 600 subscribers. So we've seen a lot of changes over those years. The service in 2012 was also it was not online. It was done. We actually printed and mailed the draft updates to districts.
I didn't know that
back then. So a lot of change over the past, 12 or so years with the Press Plus service. Now it's completely online. Digital platform that we can use to support our members in the best way possible. Yeah, well,
I'm sure our members and the postman appreciate having it digitally delivered now.
Yeah, a lot of postage back then in the early days.
I know what press kind of is, but honestly, I don't know a lot about the intricate details of how it works. So I'm really excited to get to know more about what goes on behind the scenes. So, first and foremost, what is Press and Press Plus?
Sure. So PRESS stands for Policy Reference Education Subscription Service, and this annual subscription provides access to IASB's Policy Reference Manual, which is an encyclopedia of more than 1,500 pages of sample policies, procedures, and exhibits that boards and administrators can use and customize in their local districts. Then we have Press Plus, which is a separate additional subscription service, and that is a customized full maintenance policy subscription service that is available to boards that subscribe to Press and have also completed a policy manual customization project with IASB. So the prerequisite policy manual customization project involves a policy director from IASB working directly in the district with the board over a series of meetings to fully update and customize the board's policy manual so that by the time they put their policy manual into the Press Plus service for us to maintain it for them, it is completely up to date now and it is fully customized for the board's local needs. And that project generally takes about 6 to 12 months to complete before the board will be eligible to subscribe to the customized Press Plus service.
Okay, so it's kind of like the streaming bundles. Like, like the default, and like the default plus bundle, where you get
plus,
a lot more.
Right.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think we've been ahead of the curve on that because we had Press Plus for, how many years have we been offering that?
I think since about 2006.
Wow.
So we've been improving the service and growing the service. It's grown pretty rapidly over those years. Boards very, very popular with school boards.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a real need for it too.
Absolutely.
Could you highlight some key features of each service?
Sure. So while boards can use the Press service to access the footnoted sample material and the changes that have been made to the samples that IASB maintains, the Press Plus service then offers customized draft updates to subscribing boards. So those will preserve and build upon each board's local customization. The Press Plus service provides full maintenance support to each board to help them keep their manual up to date and appropriately customized on an ongoing basis.
So it's not like we've customized your policy now, have fun for 10 years. It's like, we're going to make sure it's still good going
it's
forward.
Very hands-on, very full maintenance once you get onto that Press Plus service.
Okay, very nice. Could you kind of talk about the process start to finish of customizing the Press Plus update issues for a district and like what that looks like?
Sure. So when adding customizations for a Press Plus update issue, the policy team members start with the updates that have been made to a particular sample press policy, and then we develop a series of instructions and auto text entries that can accommodate the different customized scenarios that we will encounter when going into each subscriber's manual to add the updates. So then for each subscriber, each policy within an update issue will be reviewed by 2 different team members for quality assurance. So the first team member will apply the necessary changes, and then the second team member will review the applied changes for quality assurance. And once both people have approved each policy for each subscriber, then the customized draft updates are released to the board for their review and adoption process.
Wow. Sounds very involved. Okay, so could you also talk about some specific features that Press Plus offers beyond the basic Press service?
Sure. So for the Press service, subscribers log into Press Online and they can find a plethora of footnote information within the sample policy, procedure, and exhibit material. And that footnote of information includes legal citations, background information, resources, best practices, information about requirements, options, and alternatives. And then Press Online also contains information about the most recent 4 Press update issues with detailed information about the changes that have been made to the samples and the reasons for those changes.
Okay.
Now with the Press Plus update issues, those are customized for each individual subscribing board. So rather than logging into Press Online to see the changes that have been made to the sample material, IASB policy staff provides the applicable changes directly on to the board's most recently adopted version of each effective policy. And we add comments within the policies to explain the changes and any new options or alternative language that the board should consider prior to the adoption of the updated policy. And for new options that the board needs to consider and determine which option is right for them, we will apply those as straightforward questions that they can answer within the platform of the service. And then IASB takes care of applying the necessary changes based on the board's answer. Sometimes those changes can affect one policy. Sometimes they can affect many policies within the manual, and IASB takes care of making sure that those changes are all applied throughout the manual and everything is in alignment.
Okay, so there's a lot of back and forth with the districts. It's not the district presses a generate policy button and then they wait a month or however long it takes.
Yes, it's a 2-way communication through this Press Plus platform where we're asking questions, they're answering questions, we're providing things back and forth. Okay,
so by the end of it, the board isn't like surprised by what the policies are because they've been involved in that process the whole time.
Oh no, absolutely. They should have full information about what they're adopting, and they know that they're making the right choices because we've given them all the information that they need to make an informed decision.
I'm sure that makes ratifying them a lot easier, more straightforward too. Yeah. So you already know what's already in it, right?
Yep.
Cool. So you're talking a lot about the back and forth with the districts and how it there's a lot of 2-way communication when you're creating these Press Plus update issues. Are most of those customizations similar, or is each district pretty unique in their needs with that service?
So some customizations can be similar based upon district type, whether they're an elementary district, a high school, or a unit district, for example, or maybe based on their enrollment size or the number of buildings that they maintain within their district. But there are so many local choices for boards to make throughout their board policy manuals that the policy manuals can vary greatly even within a similar district type or size, just based on the local district's needs and goals and that type of thing.
That's really interesting. I wouldn't have ever thought that like the amount of buildings would affect something like that. So that's really interesting how many factors go into other than just like the student size and what age you're going for. So, I mean, it's nice that we have this service. I mean, what is the benefit of having a customized policy manual?
Well, the board's policy manual is its voice in the district, and it should contain up-to-date district goals, define operating limits, establish board processes, and delegate authority to the superintendent and staff. So in effective districts, every part of the organization is going to be aligned with the ends articulated by the school board in its written board policy. And the more locally customized and up-to-date a board's policy manual is, the more effective they will be.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Well, how much time and energy does our service save a district if they were to do it, just by themselves?
Well, Feedback from our subscribers consistently tells us that the time savings is very considerable, and they are very grateful for the support that the Press Plus service provides. Often when a superintendent moves to a new district, and maybe they were at a previous Press Plus subscribing district and they move to a district where the board hasn't subscribed yet to the Press Plus service, one of the first things they'll do is call us and say, hey, my board needs to do a policy manual customization service because we need to get immediately onto this Press Plus service as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Staying up to date with policy changes is really a very large task, and boards just often struggle with the volume and frequency of changes that are provided to them. And so when we work in district with boards that haven't previously done a policy manual customization, we'll find that maybe they have some policies that haven't been updated in more than 10 years.
Wow.
Maybe they haven't fully gotten into all of the customization that's needed for their local board. And these processes, the customization process, and then the ongoing Press Plus service just provides them with the support they need to make staying on top of the changes more manageable, and also making it easier for them to understand the local customization that they need.
Okay, yeah. When you're talking about how often policy needs change in a district, are a lot of those changes coming from like legislative sessions over at Capitol Hill, or like federally or locally in the state, or what kind of avenues are we talking about here?
Yeah, policy changes can come from anywhere, really. The volume of changes that do come from the legislature has picked up over the past several years. And so we're finding that some of the press update issues and Press Plus update issues are becoming a little bit larger. We do our best to try and keep them as simple and uncomplicated as possible to make it as user-friendly for our subscribers as possible. But policy changes can come from other places as well, such as updates to best practices and governance principles. So press will be updated with those types of things. Changes can also come from the local level too, because, just individual board needs change over time. So once you've adopted something, it doesn't mean that that is going to be the way it will be forever. So just something that needs to be continually reviewed and updated as needed locally by each board.
Yeah. You mentioned that, having a district policy that might be outdated by 10 years. I mean, think about how much has changed in a decade. I mean, right now it's 2024, 10 years ago it's 2014. And that was a wildly different landscape just in the world than what we're in right now.
Right. Absolutely. And we certainly come across policies that are even older than that.
Wow.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is a great service to have, just to really make sure we're getting the best policies for school districts out to their communities. So as you said, it's the voice. And if your voice is 20 years old, I mean, goodness, that's probably not the greatest way to display yourself to your community.
Certainly one aspect of the board's written policy manual is to provide continuity across different administrations, across, board turnover, that type of thing. But we do want the boards to be continually reviewing and updating as local needs change as well.
Absolutely. So if a school district, maybe one listening to this podcast, is interested in learning more about Press and Press Plus, how can they do that?
Well, interested boards can visit iasb.com/policy anytime to learn about all of the policy services that we have available. And at the Press Plus page in particular, there's a link they can click to schedule a one-on-one appointment with a policy team member. And we can do an individual screen share walkthrough of the service, kind of walking through it, where we can both see the same thing at the same time and answer individual questions about every step of the process. And the Press Plus team can also be reached at pressplus@iasb.com or by calling IASB and dialing extension 1200.
Cool. Yeah. So when you're talking about just the process of doing these updates, this sounds like there's a lot of manpower behind it. It's just, you have a whole department dedicated to it. So, how long do these customizations typically take?
For each Press Plus update issue, the highly customized process varies in length depending on the size and complexity of a particular update issue. And we generally do 3 to 4 of those per year. So depending on the size and complexity, it can take anywhere from usually about 1 to 4 weeks for us to get through that entire process for each of our subscribers. And then the ball goes into the board's court, where they are now reviewing and determining the appropriate changes for them to adopt. And then they enter those into the system. And then our work is never done, because then we're going to process those changes and proof them as well. Always 2 people, 2 team members on each policy for quality assurance. And so it's just a continual back and forth that goes throughout the entire year.
And you're not, during these processes, you're not like salvaging what used to be the policies. You're kind of starting basically from scratch, right? Kind of building the policy up from the ground up from...
No, we are actually starting with the district's current policy. With each Press Plus update issue, that we will log in, we maintain copies of their most recently adopted versions. So we're always starting with the most recently adopted version and applying the changes from there, so that their previously adopted customization doesn't get lost. And we're keeping that intact, and also providing them with all the information they need to go forward with that policy.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. Well, Angie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Really do appreciate you talking about Press and Press Plus and such a valuable service to our members. And as you said, if you've got any questions about Press or Press Plus, go to our website on our policy page, check it out, reach out on phone or email, and we'll definitely get you connected with somebody who can help you get a updated policy manual for your district. Again, thank you, Angie, so much for coming on the podcast. Really do appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to the podcast. And thank you for your dedicated volunteer service to public education. If you'd like to stay up to date with future episodes, please consider following us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube Music. Have a comment or question? We welcome listener feedback and invite you to leave us a voicemail via the link in the description, or send us a voicemail at communications@iasb.com. Thanks.